Hi, Jerry. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to double check. You'll introduce our Dr. Broquet for the presentation here shortly.
I will. I'll have a very short introduction, and I think she's planning on introducing the other speakers. So
okay, great.
Yeah, but I will. I'll just take about 1 minute and get her going. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that we have less time than we normally dedicate to this, but sure, that's great. Thank you.
I think they're ready and on
super.
time.
Thank you, sir.
Jerry?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Hey, this is Ed Hightower. I want to again thank you, your staff, for all of the outstanding work that you guys have done with testing down across Madison County. You guys have knocked it out of the park.
They are doing very, very well. And people from Springfield actually enjoy getting on the road and helping. You know, there's a caravan almost every day down that way.
Yeah. About 2.5 weeks ago, the governor called me just to check in and see how things were going. So I was telling him, you know, that you and SIU played a major role as far as helping to get the mobile process going down in this area. And it's taken off because they were kind of dragging over in St. Clair County. And so I guess they're using the mobile process now. So I told them, I was very transparent, said that, you know, this came from conversations with you and how you push and help got this through. So I just wanted you to know that.
Thank you very much. I'm glad we can help. Thanks for calling.
Yeah. Will you be making comments today?
You know, I'm on the agenda to do that. I don't know for sure. I don't know if anybody knows if, you know,
can you mention that? Can
Oh,
you,
yeah.
yeah, would you mention that in your comments,
Yeah,
and
right.
then I
Yeah.
will support that as well.
Sure.
And help me, Hoffman. I think she's on there as well. She was she's on there today to speak as well, right?
She's the on the ground leader for us there.
Yeah, Dr. Allen, is that correct? She's on the agenda to speak today, right, Hoffman?
She is.
Correct.
So I understand. Yes, sir.
Yeah, just if one of Jerry, you, her, if you guys could just kind of build that in, because this is a great thing for downstate. This is great.
I will.
Yeah.
Becky's on the video. I can see her right now. Hi.
Where's Becky?
There she is. She's waving to you, Ed.
Becky, I don't see you.
Maybe I have to talk to be seen.
Oh, there you go. Becky, you guys, again, you guys have knocked it out of the park. This
Yeah,
is
it's
huge.
going well.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I don't know if you heard what I just said to Jerry about the governor calling me about 3 weeks ago just to check in. And I shared with him what you guys were doing down in this area and how SIU had really played a major, major role. But the mobile came from, of course, Jerry. So if you guys could just kind of touch on that, how we focus on the underserved, the African-American population, that, however you and Jerry want to get this out there today. I just want you guys to just mention that, if you will.
Sure thing.
We'll get it. Yeah.
Good deal.
Must be quite the executive session, I'd say.
No, we're done. We're done.
Oh, okay.
It was, routine. We should be coming back on there any second now. We're scheduled to start at I think 12:40. So yeah.
Okay.
So Dr. Hightower, do you
Yes.
have, this is Jim Allen again. Do
Yeah,
you
Jim.
have your script for today?
I do. I do.
Because we have had to modify it a bit. I know that Dwayne Quickey pointed out a couple of anomalies from the last time.
Yes.
That's okay. We'll know how to get through it.
You got it. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet.
Wake up, Dr. Hightower.
Hey, Raj, just taking one of these old men naps.
You in Edwardsville?
Yes, I am. How about you? You down south?
Yeah, I just came down for a couple of weeks. I'm coming back for the next Tuesday. Be back for the summer.
Okay.
It's hot down here.
Oh yeah.
And that looking at that executive session, we got good leadership now, don't we?
Phenomenal.
You're up first, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
We have people from the medical school going to make a presentation.
We do. Jerry and Rebecca Hoffman and others are going to be talking, and well, they've done some exciting things down here with the testing of underrepresented minority in Madison County. They've done just a great job, Raj.
Good. I know you've been very involved in it.
Yeah, yeah.
Hello, Subhash.
Hi, Roger. How are you doing?
Doing good.
Hi, Jim.
Hi, Sabash. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Yeah, I'll be spending more time down your way in Fainer Hall
Good.
here in another month.
I have not been there for 3 months now.
Oh, you haven't? Well,
No.
we'll miss you.
Are you going to take your math classes again?
I thought about it. That turned out to be really useful for some social network analysis that I did for my last book.
Okay,
And so since that was a unit of that math class, I just may have another shot at it. Looked like fun.
good. As I told you, I'm watching your history movies on the Netflix.
Ah, this speaks well for you, Sabash.
Yeah, that's what I'm learning. Good to see you, Jim.
You too.
Hello, Ed.
Yes.
How you doing? Ed, how you doing?
It's doing good. If you're talking to this, Ed,
I am.
you doing okay?
Yep.
Good.
It's about time for this to start, isn't it?
Yep. Chair is just coming.
Okay, I move that the full board meeting recess and reconvene at the conclusion of the board's architectural and design committee meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Whittington, please call the roll.
Curtis,
Present?
Gear,
Present.
hi Stephen,
Yeah.
Yes.
Graham,
Present.
Hightower,
Present.
Sharma,
Present.
Stoller, Simmons,
Present.
and Tedrick.
Present.
Okay, we're in recess. We're now going to go into the committee meetings. The next meeting is the Academic Matters Committee meeting. Dr. Hightower, will you please proceed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The meeting of the Academic Matters Committee is now in session. And first, I want to welcome Mr. Gear to our committee, and looking forward to working with you.
Thank you. You as well.
With that, Dr. Allen, there are there announcements?
Yes, sir. Just two, very briefly. Wanted folks to know about the IBAG's latest work in preparing guidance, COVID-19 guidances for the universities, the public universities in particular, that has been the basis for their planning. I know that as we prepare for the fall, this has involved a great deal of coordination with the CDC, with the Illinois Department of Public Health, as well as the governor's Restore Illinois plan. So this task force that had two representatives from SIU, President Dan Mahoney and Dean Provost Cruz, School of Medicine, participated actively, and that report and guidance were provided at the end of June. I think it's important that we had such good representation. It's in keeping with the very tight coordination that I have witnessed here for the first time in about 5 years of being sort of on the front line between the governor's office and the public universities, especially through the good offices of Ginger Ostro, the new executive director, but also with the appointment of the trustees of so many boards across the state. So this is a really pretty good step for the IBHE that has been playing a very much of a secondary role for the last 20 years. This augurs well for us. The second announcement I have is very well known already since the press release has gone out, but we have a vice president for academic innovation, planning and partnerships. His name is Dr. Jarish Gupta. He's the professor of pharmacy and director of university community initiatives at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. After a national search, we found ourselves the right person for the job. I'm delighted that in the course of this, we had 45 applicants, 5 finalists, and Dr. Gupta floated right to the top. I'm very proud, in fact, to see that he will, in fact, play such an important role going forward in a very new job, not the one that I've been doing, but one that entails a good deal more work and more responsibility, quite frankly, than the present position. And lastly, this is my last role to play in a Board of Trustees meeting. I'm trying not to smile too broadly. I know that this has been an important component of my work for the last 5 years off and on. I'm delighted to have worked with some extraordinary members of the board, 3 different presidents, chancellors, provosts, and 2 chairs of the Academic Matters Committee, Dr. Shirley Portwood and now Dr. Ed Hightower. And I've regarded them as mentors for much of what I've had to do. And with that, I'm happy to say goodbye to you all after the meeting. That ends my remarks, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Allen. I'm sure our chair will make formal thanks to you and recognize you during the public part of our meeting. But let me say that it has been a real pleasure working with you. Your honesty, your hard work, your dedication, your commitment, and everything you've done has really made this place a better institution. So thank you, and we look forward to continuing to lean on you as we go move forward with the SIU system. So thank you so much. With that, approval of minutes of the February 13th, 2020 meeting. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
May I get a second? Mr. Gear, would you give us a second?
A second. Sorry.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Hightower,
Yes.
Gear,
Present.
Sharma.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. The motion passed. Moving on, Dr. Allen, and we'll move through this expeditiously. If you'll continue on with item number 3, approval of new programs, reasonable and moderate extensions, approval of off-campus program locations, and academic program eliminations and suspensions, July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, and this will be an action item. Dr. Allen.
Easier to say board item H, but there we go. Folks, this is very briefly an omnibus motion that includes, if you will, all of the changes to the academic program inventory of the 2 universities over the course of the last fiscal year. We do this together all at one time rather than piecemeal over the course of the year in large measure so that the committee and the board can see the trend of different degree programs as they develop. And to a great extent, it's quite illuminating. You'll notice, for example, that there are 4 new degree programs in Carbondale, none in Edwardsville. Those new programs tend to be in the healthcare fields. I think that's quite obvious for the social need that we have in Southern Illinois for folks in that area. As far as Edwardsville is concerned, they've actually taken a great interest in the development of accelerated bachelor to master's programs. There are 11 of them in the past year. They tend to be both in the STEM and non-STEM areas. It's one way of recruiting outstanding students to a higher degree. And the last set of degree programs of changes that are in this mix worth keeping in mind. The last wave, if you will, of reorganization on the Carbondale campus. Chancellor Carlo Montemagno initiated this process before he died in 2018, and we're still undergoing this process. We're very much more than halfway through, and we're now in a position to see how that process is unfolding in this omnibus motion. So just wanted to provide you a little bit of background why we're doing it this way. That helps.
And again, those three areas, dealing, and again, not on any individual campus, but STEM, healthcare, and reorganization have been priority areas for the board as well as administration. So again, thanks for your leadership as well as others in getting us to this recommendation today. Is there a motion to approve item 3?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gear. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Hightower,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Wonderful. Dr. Allen, if you'll continue on with informational report.
One more item that I need to explain to you. I'll do this briefly as well. Every year, we also prepare a Centers and Institutes report for the fiscal year prior to the one that we're now actually completing. Large measure because the delay in which accounting procedures provide. And so it's useful to see in this particular report, and as soon as it's approved, we'll post it on the system webpage, an opportunity what our different centers and institutes, almost all of them approved by the IBHE, are doing on an annual basis, so that in the course of 8 years, when they're come up for program review as mandated by the IBHE, they have a trend line of data and of documentation that they can use. And meanwhile, the board is in a position to see what some of the most active research, instructional, and service units on the campuses are doing, the vast majority of which are funded extramurally, not by the state so much as by grants and contracts, in ways that, and with partnerships that I think reflect well on both campuses. And I think this report reflects that. I could wade into the weeds and tell you a good deal more about all of this, but I think it's very useful for you to see what these centers and institutes do to contribute to the livelihood, the vitality of the campuses of the universities in ways that I think well worth your attention at least once a year. That's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Wonderful. You'll continue on with introduction of the individual from the medical school, please.
Yes, I'm going to turn the responsibility for the introductions to Provost Dean Cruz from the School of Medicine. Jerry, if you'd be so kind.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, it's my pleasure to introduce our participants today. First, I will say that at the SIU School of Medicine, we have more than 900 learners. We have 72 in our Med Prep program, which is a post-baccalaureate program for educationally disadvantaged and marginalized students to prepare them to be for medical school and dental school. We have about 70 master's and PhD students to become biomedical scientists. We have 80 physician assistant students. We have about 295 medical students now. And beyond medical school, we have more than 350 resident physicians and fellows who've graduated from medical schools, have a temporary license, and who are in training programs in specialties to move toward excellence and board certification. So that's what we're going to hear about today, is the graduate medical education programs. And we have 4 speakers today, and I'm just going to introduce the first one, Dr. Karen Broquet, who is our Associate Dean for Graduate Medical Education. So Karen, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much, Jerry. Can everyone hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to do a little bit of an introduction of how graduate medical education kind of fits into our learning continuum. So it is a transition from medical school through specialty training and the last step before young doctors go into practice. And one of the things that sets graduate medical education apart is our learners are also practitioners. They are licensed physicians. What that means is, in addition to teaching them, we are responsible for knowing when to kind of let them fly or let them have more autonomy with patients, which is really our most awesome responsibility as faculty, and it kind of drives everything we do. So at SIU, we currently have 20 residency programs, and a residency program is a program that a medical student enters right out of medical school. In July, we'll have 21 because we'll be opening a new family medicine program down in the Alton area. And of our residency programs, just about half are in either primary care or mental health. We also have 12 fellowship programs. So a fellowship is something that you do after a core residency. The vast majority of our learners, as Dr. Cruz said, are in Springfield, but we also have programs in Decatur and Quincy and Carbondale. So one of the other really important things that sets GME apart from UGME is the importance of our relationship with our partner hospitals. Obviously, this training is clinical, so it will take place largely in hospitals. The other thing is that since our learners are practitioners, they don't pay tuition, they're paid a stipend, and the costs associated with the supervision and meeting all requirements are significant. So we've been able to grow when we've been able to find areas of mission overlap between the school and our partner hospitals. And luckily, we've been able to really identify some strong areas of mission overlap. Just to mention a couple, we've been able to expand the number of residents in psychiatry, which is a crisis regional shortage. We've been able to develop fellowships in cardiology and cancer care and ICU, critical care medicine, to meet up the needs of our geriatric population, and develop the program down in Alton. So lastly and very briefly, our accreditation system is very separate from the medical school. It's a body called the Accreditation Council for Graduate Medical Education. They accredit each of our programs individually, as well as the institution. And that's an annual process. Because this happens so frequently, their threshold for citations is quite low. And we're pretty proud that institutionally, we have not had a citation for years. And that's, I think, a testament to the hard work that's gone into the programs by all the folks here. The other thing that we really noticed is that there's nothing like a stress on a system to let us know how well it's working. And COVID certainly has been a significant stress to our system. There was some discussion earlier about the active role the medical school has had, but a lot of our residents and learners were vital in the care of COVID patients in the region. So the first speaker that I would like to introduce is Dr. Taylor Stone. He is a second-year fellow in our new Pulmonary Medicine and Critical Care Fellowship. And Dr. Stone, can you tell us a little bit about how you guys were involved in that?
Sure, yeah, hi. I'll just talk a little bit about our experience as fellows with the COVID-19 pandemic. So the fellows, some of the other fellows and myself had kind of been following the outbreak as it progressed from January, spread from China to the rest of the world. Getting into mid to late February, when we started seeing community spread in the U.S., we knew that eventually we were going to start to see cases. So at that time, we started to prepare. We wrote protocols for how we were going to manage these patients. So we developed detailed protocols for how the airways could be managed safely, how to protect the staff if the patient were to have a cardiac arrest and needed CPR, what the best treatment protocols were going to be for these patients if they were admitted to the ICU. We ran simulations in our simulation lab. We recorded videos detailing the best practices, which were sent out to the emergency medicine physicians here in town and the other intensivist groups here in town. So by the time we got our first ICU patient with COVID-19, we had already been through these protocols several times. We kind of hit the ground running. The protocols were used right off the bat. The fellows have been directly involved in patient care since the first patient. I intubated, I think, the second or third COVID patient at Memorial. And this is a case with COVID. Since it's such a novel clinical entity, there's really no expertise. So the fellows have kind of been treated as equals with our faculty in terms of coming up with these protocols and figuring out what the best way to handle these patients is. So it's been an opportunity for us to kind of step up and take a leadership role. As we've gotten new evidence and new data on how to best manage these patients, we've continued to be involved with setting hospital protocols in terms of how these patients should be managed. So overall, it's been an opportunity that I think we've taken advantage of in terms of, taking a leadership role.
All right, well, thank you for that. So our next speaker is Dr. Nana Cujo. Dr. Cujo is a fourth-year resident in our psychiatry program. And the psychiatry program had been making a lot of strides, meeting our mission for the underserved through the use of telepsychiatry with the Department of Corrections. And then when COVID hit, was really able to expand that into providing patient care. So Dr. Cujo, I'm going to suggest that you start and then I'll pull your picture up while you're talking.
Sure. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
Great. So thank you for having me. Our Department of Psychiatry serves a pretty large population through our telehealth platform. So through telepsychiatry, we're able to provide care to a really large and a variety of populations. So for instance, we provide care to folks in Havana. We provide care to students at Millikan University. And as Dr. Brocade mentioned, at the correctional facilities, in particular at Pontiac and Logan. And that's just to name a few. We've got other clinics as well. In our program, residents really have been able to make a smooth transition to providing telepsychiatry in the era of COVID. Because we had so much exposure, it really was an easy and really smooth transition for us to get a majority of our patients seen via a telehealth platform. We've had some preliminary data just looking at what the results are in terms of patient satisfaction with getting telehealth or with getting telepsychiatry. And what we're seeing right now is a majority of patients seem to be really satisfied and don't feel like the care that they got was satisfied. So it's been a really good experience for us.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I am unable to share from my end. So I'm going to introduce Dr. Hoffman. And well, if Misty or Carol is available, if either of you have got access to Dr. Hoffman's slides, I would ask that you, if you can pull them up. Zoom is not recognizing my desktop as an option. So our next speaker is Dr. Rebecca Hoffman, who has been the instrumental in developing our new family and community medicine program in Alton, Illinois.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, so this has been a really exciting venture, and I was just going to give kind of a quick overview. The whole thing started off with Alton Memorial Hospital, which is part of the BJC, Barnes Jewish Christian Network, approaching SIU School of Medicine to help establish a family medicine training program here, recognizing the need for primary care physicians and family physicians in particular in the region and throughout the Metro East area, as well as the rest of Southern Illinois. And this discussions actually started about 4 years ago. And about almost exactly a year ago now, we were able to start moving forward with that. So I don't know if you're able to see the slide there, or if I can click on it, I don't know. But in any case, I just wanted to highlight the partners that are a part of this process. So of course, SIU School of Medicine is leading this from an academic perspective. But our main partners are, of course, Alton Memorial Hospital and BJC, as well as SIHF Healthcare, not to be confused with SIH in Carbondale. But SIHF is the large federally qualified health center that operates throughout much of our region. And then also, of course, the School of Medicine. So those are the three main partners. And I just put this map up there to show you prior to the Alton program existing, you kind of see a void for family medicine presence in the Southern Illinois region. And for a long time, I know it's been recognized that the region could benefit from a training program here. And so it just is wonderful that it's been able to work out. So the star is the location of our new program in Alton in Madison County. And then the first slide had the partners on it. We are set to start recruiting right now for our first class of 6 residents. So these will be resident physicians who just graduated from medical school who will spend 3 years with us. So at full capacity, we'll have 18 residents with us. And they'll be training in all aspects of family medicine, both inpatient in the hospital and outpatient care, obstetrics, community-based care, home visits, nursing home, mental and behavioral health, the whole spectrum. So we're very excited to get this started and also excited at what this may bring to the community down the road. I don't know if you could advance to the next slide for me. And this, I don't need to read this to you, but I just wanted to point out how much that this program has really felt like a great bringing to fruition all of the sort of outreach and educational missions of the school and the SIU organization. So of course, we're going to train quality board certified family physicians. We want to make sure that they're poised to be leaders in their communities, that they can advocate for their patients and for their communities, and that we're going to provide high quality care for our patients. We recognize, as Dr. Hightower alluded to earlier, that there are some very needy communities, very vulnerable populations within the service area of this new program. And so one of our missions is, of course, to start establishing those community relationships early on and serve those populations in particular. I hope to do that through some pipeline programs, through relationships with the organizations that you see on the screen there. Not just the K through 12 educational systems, but also the local community college, the SIU Med Prep program. And then we have already begun collaborating with SIUE, both through School of Pharmacy and School of Nursing already. So we're very excited. And also, as Dr. Hightower mentioned earlier, we have been able to sort of kickstart the community relationships by providing service during the time of COVID. So many residents of our area here did not have access to testing for COVID-19. And the Family Medicine Department and the School of Medicine have already had prior experience doing mobile and stationary testing throughout our other regions in Decatur and Quincy and Carbondale and Springfield. And so we developed this community outreach in collaboration with the Housing Authority, the local health department, Southern Illinois Healthcare Foundation, and the School of Medicine. And we've been doing this now for, I believe, about 3 weeks. We go out 2 days a week to different sites identified as communities of need throughout the entire county, Madison County. A similar effort is going on in St. Clair County, which also houses many needy communities. And then we simply show up on site with our team and we do COVID tests on anybody who shows up, who wants a test. And so this has been highly successful so far. The weather is being an issue for us. We're doing all this testing outside. And so we're having some problems with people waiting in line and getting too hot. So we may have to actually beef up our team size so that we can process everybody arriving more efficiently in the future, because the need has just been so great and the response has been so great. So on Tuesday alone, I was out testing in partnership with the SIU e-nursing faculty, and we did 300 tests in less than 4 hours. So it's really been a great initiative, and I look forward to this just being the start of the similar types of things in the future.
Okay, Karen, do you this is Jerry. Do you have anything more that you'd like to add?
I do not, just unless anyone in the group has any questions.
Yeah, if there are any questions, that's good. I've got a couple of wrap-up comments. You know, first of all, I'd say Dr. Broquet has provided astounding leadership for all of our programs. To have accreditation for all these years with no citations and to have all 31 programs accredited, SIU School of Medicine is way ahead of the game nationally on that one. And then you heard from Dr. Stone, Dr. Cudjoe, Dr. Hoffman. It's just amazing the critical ICU care that cares for those COVID infected patients that are most ill, the mental health and the telehealth. Don't underestimate the importance of that. And Dr. Cudjoe also mentioned that it went into the prisons, and so the correctional medicine mission that we have is mentioned there. And then Dr. Hoffman and testing 300 or 400 today, we were able to respond to a call from Dr. Hightower and put some of our infrastructure in motion, and Becky got it going on the ground there. It's a great thing. So, you know, really good graduate medical education for the physicians of tomorrow. They are good doctors when they get finished.
Dr. Cruz, let me just say, and this is more for Trustee John Simmons, because I know how involved he is across Madison County and across the state. But the SIU School of Medicine has really stepped up, John. There have been I don't think they're really giving themselves the true credit that they deserve, Dr. Cruz, Dr. Hoffman, and others. I went to Dr. Cruz as a concerned citizen of this area. And John, you work very closely and do so much for the disadvantaged and underrepresented citizens of this area. We were concerned that our African-American minority population was not getting testing for COVID-19. And I contacted Jerry and said, Dr. Cruz, we need help here. He then just immediately, without hesitation, said that we've got a model that we're using in Quincy, Illinois, and it's a mobile where we can actually go into those areas, not have those citizens try and locate us or find us. And John, for your benefit, we've been in the Alton housing projects. We're now in the Collinsville projects, the Venice Madison projects, and the SIU Medical School, working with Dr. Cruz and others. They are testing the underrepresented, underserved, with a real focus on our seniors, our African-American and other minority population. So I just want to let you know, and as a result of their efforts here in Madison County and this mobile process that they're using, St. Clair County is now adopting that same process. So again, Dr. Cruz and others, thank you so much for what you're doing for our most needy. John, so please just know that that is occurring.
Yes, thank you very much.
With that, are there questions or comments from any other trustees? then if not, that concludes the Academic Matters Committee report today. Thank you.
Okay, before we go to the audit committee, Dr. Allen, on behalf of the board, I want to thank you for your service to the SIU system during the last few years, which at times were challenging times. And you were an integral part of guiding through the balance of the academic reorganization and the Carbondale nursing program through the IBHE. And I want to thank you for your service. You know, Dr. Allen, even before we brought him back out of retirement, Dr. Allen and I occasionally would meet at a local watering hole on a Friday afternoon, quench our thirst before the weekend. And Jim, I hope we can get back to that once things open up. But again, on behalf of the board, thank you for your service and good luck in your new retirement. You retired once, but now you're going to retire again.
Third time.
I must add, Jim, thank you very much. I have worked with Jim since 1994, 95 years. For 25 years, and he has been a great soldier and great administrator at SIU Carbondale. And I really appreciate all things you have done for SIU.
Okay.
Thank you, Subhash.
Okay, the next meeting is the audit committee meeting. Mr. Curtis, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The meeting of the audit committee is now in session. The first item is approval of the minutes of March 28, 19. Could I have a motion to approve? And Mr. Gear, welcome to our board. It's you and me today on this committee. So take it away. Motion to approve minutes.
Motion.
I'll second that. Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Curtis,
Yes.
Gear.
Yes.
Thank you. It's approved. The second item of the agenda is information report presentation of the FY19 audits of the SIU system by Kim Labonte, our Executive Director of Audits. And I'll turn it over to Kim.
Oh, hi. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. As was mentioned, this is a presentation of the fiscal year 19 audits. These audits were conducted by Plant Moran as Special Assistant Auditors for the Illinois Office of the Auditor General. The financial report was released on February 19th, and the compliance report was released on March 28th. Both of those audits received unqualified opinions. The links to these audit reports were shared with the members of the audit committee at the time of their release. All of the audits were timely filed with the U.S. Department of Education and with the Federal Audit Clearinghouse. That due date was March 31st. However, because of the pandemic, the presentation to you was postponed until today. In your materials, you should have each received a summary of the findings that were reported for your reference. In total, these reports contain 10 audit findings, 7 of which were repeated from the prior year. And for comparison purposes, the fiscal year 18 audit included 12 findings, 6 of which had been repeated from the prior year. So the total number of findings decreased by 2. We did have 1 more federal compliance finding this year than in the past, but it should be noted that 10 is the fewest number of material findings that our system has had since fiscal year 14. And our SIU system continues to be below average for the number of findings per year compared to other Illinois public universities. The 10 current year findings did include 5 federal compliance findings and 5 state compliance findings, and I'll just briefly summarize what those were. So our federal compliance findings, those are matters that relate to the handling of federal grant funds and financial aid matters. And unfortunately, those do continue to be common on our campuses, and they are very difficult to fully remediate. Of the 5 compliance findings that we had in this cycle, 3 of them are repeated from prior years, and 1 of them is persisting since fiscal year 15. We do continue to struggle with these federal non-compliance issues a bit, but it is important to note that there have been no question costs in relationship to these federal findings, so that is good news. The compliance weaknesses that are noted are primarily the result of a lack of monitoring, human error, or limited resources. Unfortunately, though, when it comes to federal findings, there's no tolerance for error. And so it is difficult to remediate these. So it's important that we continue to strive on our campuses to provide sufficient resources to the dedicated correction actions so that we can avoid future consequences on those. With respect to our state findings included such matters as continued weaknesses in inventory and textbook, computer inventory and textbook inventory control, our failure to require faculty to file timesheets, and non-compliance with a statutory mandate that requires composition of our research advisory board for the corn to ethanol plant at SIU. So those are all repeat matters, as I'm sure you're well aware. Let's see, I think at least 4 of those have been repeated. Yes, at least 4 of those matters are repeated from prior years, with 3 of them persisting for 4 or more years. I can highlight these state matters a little further if you would like me to. Otherwise, this concludes my comments and I can take questions.
Any questions for our Executive Director of Audits?
Yeah, Chair Curtis, I'm not on your committee, but I do have a question for Kim, if you would.
Sure.
That's okay?
Yes.
I received from you the other day an email regarding the scheduling of audits for the next year.
Yes.
As an information item, how do you come up with those? Does something trigger those, or what's the process that you go about it?
There's actually a pretty elaborate process. The state statute requires that that plan be developed based on a risk assessment. And so annually I send out surveys, which I think everyone on the call here today is probably a recipient of that survey. So there's 2 surveys. I send out about 150 surveys to our campus fiscal officer units. And then I send out a similar survey to our management team and our board of trustees. And then the results of that survey, there's a scoring mechanism that I go through to give each unit across each campus a risk score. And then I analyze those risk scores, and those scores that rank higher than others rise to the top. And so the types of, there's 13 risk categories that each entity is asked to assess, and they're asked to assess the impact that those risks can have on their unit and the likelihood that those risks will happen within their unit. And so it's a mathematical computation between the likelihood that the risks that I bring to their attention will happen and the impact that there will be if that risk does happen.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent question. Any other questions for Kim? In addition to that audit, or the items that we'll consider for the next year, we're always flexible if some acute issue comes to the attention of the president or others.
Yes, absolutely.
That as well. So if there's no other business before the audit committee, this meeting is adjourned, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Curtis. The next meeting is the Finance Committee meeting. Mr. Tendrick, you may proceed.
All right, the Finance Committee meeting is now in session. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the meeting held April 30th and May 29th. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Brand,
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
And the minutes are approved. Committee item 2 proposes approval for limited exemption to board policy on administrative closure, School of Medicine. Dean Cruz, will you speak to this item?
Yes, I will. This is actually a COVID-19 related item too. I know the title is a fancy one, but in essence, we are seeking to increase the number of days that we can furlough administrative professional personnel and faculty members. This does not pertain to civil service members. So at the School of Medicine, a large portion of our budget revolves around clinical care and the care that we do with our hospital partners. We're projecting multi-million-dollar shortfalls in the budget this year. We've really clamped down on hiring, almost a total freeze. We've had salary cuts for physician faculty members and executives. We're examining non-essential programs, and this is another step that we need to have the flexibility to meet our budgetary and financial needs during that period, during the recovery from COVID and into the future. So we're seeking lifting of the 6-day limit. The limit for civil service employees is 15 days, and so we're examining more like the possibility to going to a similar level for AP and faculty members. And really, that's about it. We just are looking for something longer than the 6 days for potential furloughs.
Any discussion? Any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Committee item 3 proposes approval of the salary and appointment Dean, College of Engineering at SIUC. Chancellor Lane. Is Chancellor Lane with us?
You're
Yes.
muted, Austin.
There you go. Okay, thank you, Trustee Chedrick. Had the mute on a little too long there. I am pleased to recommend the hiring of Frank Liu as the next Dean of the College of Engineering. Dr. Liu, if approved by the board today, will be joining SIU Carbondale after 5 years at the University of Arkansas. There, he's a professor and department head. He holds the Roger S. Klein Endowed Leadership Chair in the Department of Computer Science and Computer Engineering. He's previously served as a professor and associate chair for graduate studies and external affairs in Computer Science Department at Missouri University of Science and Technology. He earned his PhD from Texas A&M, so he's an Aggie, but now, if approved, he'll be a Saluki. Holds his master's degree from Southeast University and a bachelor's degree from National University. His recommendation follows a national search in which 5 candidates were interviewed. I had the opportunity actually to talk with him before being able to recommend him today. Had a great conversation with him and our provost about his new role, and very confident that we have a good leader in place to lead our college in that particular area. So I respectfully submit this item for your consideration.
Thank you. Any discussion? Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
This item is approved by the committee.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Committee item 4 proposes approval of salary and appointment interim dean, College of Applied Sciences and Art, SIUC. Chancellor Lane.
Yes, I'm also pleased to recommend the appointment of Dr. Scott Collins as our interim dean of the College of Applied Sciences and Arts. And it's important to note for the record that as part of our ongoing reorganization efforts, the Illinois Board of Higher Education approved the new name of this college, which was effective July 1. It is now the College of Health and Human Sciences. This recommendation follows an opportunity for all tenured professors in the college and other appropriate academic schools to self-nominate for consideration for the position. Dr. Collins holds the rank of professor with tenure and is currently the director of the School of Health Sciences. He joined us in 1999 as a visiting instructor of radiological sciences and later as assistant professor and associate professor. Dr. Collins also served, I think it's important to note, in the Illinois Army National Guard for a decade, and we definitely thank him for his service. I also had the opportunity to talk with Dr. Collins before being able to bring him forward today in preparation for the meeting. He too will be a very strong leader for our students and faculty in the college, and so I respectfully submit this item for your consideration.
Thank you, Chancellor. Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
So second.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Hedrick,
Yes?
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
And the item is approved.
Thank
Committee item 5 proposes approval of salary and appointment, Dean of Library and Information Service at SIUE. Chancellor Pembroke.
Thank you, Chairman Tedrick. This matter, item N, presents for approval the salary and appointment of the Dean of Library and Information Services at the Edwardsville campus. This request follows a national search in which 8 candidates were recommended by the search committee for telephone interviews. 3 of those candidates, 2 external, 1 internal, participated in virtual campus-wide interviews. We are recommending Dr. Elizabeth Pankel for this position. She has a proven track record of working with first-generation students and staff on diversity issues in higher education. She has a PhD in geography from Kansas State, a master's in library science from North Texas, and a master's in English from Abilene Christian. She currently is head of graduate and undergrad services at the University of Utah, previously held positions at Stony Brook, K-State, and Louisiana State. At this time, we recommend Dr. Elizabeth Pankel be appointed to the position of Dean of Library and Information Services with an anticipated start date first week of August.
Thank you, Chancellor. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion from the Finance Committee to approve this item?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
So second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Hedrick,
Yes?
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
The item is approved. Committee item 6 proposes approval of salary, director, facilities management at SIUE. Chancellor Pembroke.
Thank you again, Chairman Tedrick. This matter, item O, presents for approval the salary of Craig Holland. Policies of the Board of Trustees, as you know, require the trustees to approve salaries of $150,000 or more. Mr. Holland is currently slightly below $150K. This increase put him slightly above that figure. We're recommending the change for 3 reasons. Number 1, we eliminated a position and he will be taking on additional duties as a result of that. His role in emergency management and safety in the age of COVID is dramatically expanding, and his role in creating the new health science building plans are growing every day. Therefore, we propose that the salary be adjusted accordingly.
Thank you, Chancellor. Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
Graham
This item is approved.
and Sharma.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's okay.
The item is approved, yeah. Committee item 7 proposes approval of purchase Microsoft enrollment for education solutions. And I want to just speak that the board is happy to have this item because both Carbondale and Edwardsville campuses work together on this. So Chancellor Lane, would you first of all speak to this, and then we'll have Chancellor Pembroke.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is definitely an item that shows us being better together, and Chancellor Pembroke and I will go back and forth on this as we go through it. But I'm delighted to introduce this, especially at my first meeting with the Board of Trustees, as it does showcase what our 2 campuses can do together. for the benefit of our students and our employees throughout the SIU system.
As a collaborative effort, we want to be sure to thank the IT staff on all of the campuses, especially the work of Scott Bridgens and his team from SIUC, as well as Steve Huffstutler from the SIUE campus and John Morgan at the School of Medicine who joined the effort.
Thank you.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Yes.
Is there any discussion?
A quick question on this. I think Microsoft also has some kind of meeting software like the Zoom. Is it that included in this one? Microsoft Meet, I think it is called. It doesn't say on the information we got.
That's probably a question for our IT people.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing is just
audio
upgrades. Oh, it upgrades our license. I guess enhances the security. And then it also gives us the ability to move to voice over IP, I guess, across the university. I'm not seeing the piece you just mentioned, and I'm looking through our notes here, unless you see something.
No, I didn't see it. That's the
yeah.
Mira.
And maybe Mira, I know, is on the call. Provost, she could probably get, yes.
So Chancellor, in our current license, we do have Microsoft Teams, which is a meeting tool similar to Zoom. So we do have that. So we are just renewing that, then that would be included.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mira. Any more discussion? Is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Secretary, please perform the roll call vote.
Tedrick,
I must recuse on this vote.
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
And the item is approved by committee. Committee item 8 proposes approval of salary and appointment system executive director of diversity initiatives for the system. Dr. Mahoney.
Yeah, this is a position held by Dr. Wes McNeese. He's been serving in this role for a while now, but I think been utilizing all of the 25% I'm allocated for him over the last several months. He's become a really strong partner for me in everything we're trying to do with the anti-racist task force at the system level. This will continue him in this role for the next year as we eventually move forward with a position to be more comprehensive as Chief Diversity Officer. But appreciate Dr. McNeese's work so far and happy to have him continue in this role.
Thank you. Any discussion? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Can we have a roll call vote?
This is the second on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, our student trustee seconded.
Jacob, okay.
Yeah.
Tedrick,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
and Sharma.
Yes.
And the item is approved. Committee item 9 proposes approval of salary and appointment Vice President, Southern Illinois University System. President Mahoney.
Yes, this is Dr. Girish Gupchup will be taking over that role. Dr. Gupchup, we have 45 applicants for that position, very strong pool. One of the things I was really looking for in this position was someone who would be innovative, collaborative, work well across the campuses. And you know, when you start a search like this, we were happy to have a really strong pool, but it's also interesting to find we found one of our own who really fit what we needed in the role. And Dr. Gupchup really rose to the top based on the experiences he's had, and certainly some of the things he did as Dean of Pharmacy at SIU Edwardsville. He really demonstrated a strong ability to be innovative, be collaborative, work well with faculty, staff, and across all of the groups. I also would look for someone with some similar values and sense of direction with the leadership group we had, but also someone who would bring some diversity and different perspectives to the role, which again, Dr. Gupchup comes from a different discipline than I am and has some different ideas. I think that will be really helpful in building a strong leadership team for the SIU system. So happy to recommend Dr. Gupchup for the role of Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Edward,
Yes?
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
And the item is approved. If there's no further business or other questions before the Finance Committee, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Tedrick. The last meeting is the Architectural Design Committee meeting. Mr. Simmons, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Graham, I just want to say welcome to the Architect and Design Committee. Our meetings are not always this short, but this one proves to look to be short here. So anyway, the first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of a meeting we held April 30th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And I'll second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Gotta get a roll call vote, John.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
Misty,
Simmons,
approval of the minutes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Tedrick.
Yes.
Thank you. The next item is committee item 2 on our agenda. It's approval to acquire real estate at 1906 North Illinois Avenue, Carbondale Head Start Program, SIUC. This will be on the board's omnibus motion as item Q. Chancellor Lane, can you please speak to this matter?
Yes, sir, I can. Thank you, Trustee Simmons. This matter seeks approval to purchase a piece of property on North Illinois Avenue for the SIU Head Start program. Last night, I had an opportunity to drive a little further north of our campus to go and see where it actually is. But it's about 2/3 of an acre of land, includes a building that has been used as a commercial office, and it's adjacent to the current Head Start property. The purchase will allow the Head Start program to add to its administrative space and then have a physical presence on Illinois Avenue, which will help the public to better identify its location. Important to note that funds for the purchase are coming from its non-appropriated grant overhead account, and I would respectfully submit this matter for your consideration.
Thank you, Chancellor Lane. Is there a motion to approve committee item 2?
Mr. Simmons, before I
Yes.
do that, could I ask a question? Just
Certainly.
very quickly, who are we purchasing this from? Does anybody know?
We're getting this. You have it?
The reason I grew up in that area, and I don't want to vote on if there's my friends, you know, if it's somebody that's a client.
They live. Yeah, we're getting there. They live in the region, but out of town, and we can get you the name. I don't have it at my fingertips now.
Okay.
We're going to work on it for you as we speak. I've got Matt.
Roger, if you would like, maybe you could just abstain from the vote.
Yeah,
and
let's do
assuming
that.
Trustee Curtis and Trustee Graham vote in favor, I
That's
plan
fine.
to as well, then
I'm good with
you'll
that.
just okay. And we're just putting this on the omnibus motion anyway for the item Q. So, Misty, would you mind calling the roll, please?
Simmons,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
and Tedrick.
Recuse.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. This item is approved. It'll be on the board's motion for item Q. And oddly enough, there is no other business before the Architect and Design Committee during this COVID mess. So thank you.
Good job.
We stand adjourned.
Mr. Chair, this is Ed Hightower. Trustee Simmons, I thought you said that this was going to be a short report that you were given, a short meeting.
That was pretty quick. I can't do much better than one item, Ed.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Chairman of these committees and committee members. I'm now going to call the full meeting is now reconvened. The first item on the business agenda is approval of minutes of the board meeting held March 30th, 2020, April 30th, 2020, and May 29th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Yep.
Okay, Mrs. Whittington, will you please call the roll?
Curtis. Curtis,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Garmin,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Hedrick.
Yes.
Okay, the minutes are approved. Under the trustees report, I will report at this morning's executive session. The board approved the release of excerpts of executive session minutes for the periods December of 2019 through May 2020. Those excerpts will be posted for inspection on the board's website tomorrow. Are there any other trustee reports? Hearing none, I will report that the executive committee has not met between board meetings. Our next item of business is the executive officer's report. President Mahoney, will you present your report for the SIU system?
Yes, I will. Just a few items that I wanted to bring everybody up to date on. We have now released our guidance for the fall semester, both in Carbondale and Edwardsville. Again, this closely followed the Illinois Board of Higher Education's guideline document, so we wanted to make sure we were in line with that, which we very much are. And again, that document was reviewed by the Illinois Department of Public Health. So a lot of what we're trying to do is make sure, first of all, that we are focused first and foremost on the health and safety of our faculty, staff, and students, but also focused on the mission of our institution and making sure we're doing what's best for our students educationally, providing the research opportunities for our faculty and students that are necessary, doing the things we should be doing. There was a lot of involvement from different groups. We surveyed, I know, students at Carbondale, faculty were very involved on both campuses. And so this was a very collaborative process in putting together these guidelines for the fall semester. There's also recognition, obviously, that we need to be flexible. A lot of people talk about the need to be flexible in case there's another large outbreak in Illinois of the coronavirus. We feel fortunate that right now the numbers have really flattened out in Illinois, and a lot of the efforts that I think went into that were critically important across the state to follow good health and safety measures. We want to make sure we continue to do those because that'll allow us to stay open. But there's other things that are constantly changing, both from what we get as far as advice from health officials, the availability of testing, type of testing. Some of you may have seen the University of Illinois is developing saliva testing. So it's a new form of testing that wasn't even something we would have known about a month ago. So as we develop these plans, we recognize that we need to be flexible. Also this week, the word came out again for the international students that if we go totally online, that they would have to go home. That's again a change. And so we're almost on a weekly, daily basis dealing with changes that we'll have to adjust to as we're making our plans for the fall. But we feel we have a good plan, and one, again, that we'll do our best to focus on health and safety first and making a priority of the education of our students. We also had anti-racism task forces that have begun their work at Carbondale, Edwardsville, at School of Medicine, as well as at the system level. So we've got 4 different groups. We really need a thorough review of everything that we do, from the student experience to our recruitment, retention efforts for faculty, staff, and students. That's going to really involve a lot of review of processes, procedures, policies, many of which may need to be changed because they support systemic racism, even if it's unintentionally. And so we need to do a very, very thorough review of that across the system, and we're starting that work already. We also started our first conversation of understanding a little over a week ago, and we'll continue on with those types of conversations. I think that was a good start, but we need to have them both at the system level and at the campus level. So I know we will continue with that effort. Again, a lot of things we talked about in that first conversation with systemic racism, sometimes it's intentional, sometimes it's not, but we're really looking at the impact of what we do and how that might enhance or further racism in our society, and we need to do better than we've done in the past. The strategic planning process hasn't stopped because of COVID. I say it was certainly not derailed, slightly delayed, maybe a little bit is probably the better way to describe it, but we're continuing to move forward. I've gotten actually of the working groups, 5 of the working group reports I've received already. I'm expecting the next few in probably a week or so ahead. We will then start working on a more thorough strategic plan for the system, which I still plan to have done by the end of the fall semester. So we're still really on target for doing what we wanted to do and putting that plan together. The new vice president, Dr. Gupchuck, will be a very big part of that strategic planning process. So excited to get him on board and really work closely with him as we develop that strategic plan for the SIU system. We've also started working on our fiscal year 21 budgeting processes. Just one thing to kind of update you on is that, 2 things we really focused on in our budget process. One is making sure we have realistic revenue projections and that we're aligning our expenses with where we expect our revenue to be, not inflated, really realistic expectations. But also we're going back to having a 2% contingency in the budget. I know that's something that the board has asked for in the past, and I think we need to get back to more conservative and good budgeting strategies as we move forward. So we will be doing all of that in the weeks and months ahead. Finally, I just wanted to join everybody else in thanking Jim Allen for his good work, and congratulations on this being your last official board meeting, although you could always come online and follow us in the future. But I thank Jim both for his incredible help during my transition. So I can't tell you how many times I had to rely on Jim to get things going, even before I started here in March. The reason we actually have the working groups moving forward as quickly as they are is large part because of Jim's help in doing that. His help on the vice president search, his help on a lot of other things. Could not have done it the last few months without him. So again, deeply appreciate all that he's done and thank him for his good work. That is my report.
Okay, thank you, President Mahoney. Chancellor Pembroke, will you present your report to the board for the Edwardsville campus?
Thank you. Be happy to. Can you see the screen?
We can.
We can.
We
don't see you.
Okay. Well, that's probably a good thing, right? Okay, I'm going to start with the first slide about strategic planning. As you know, we organize our presentation around the 6 goals in our strategic plan. The first has to do with recruiting and retaining students. I'll start with the good news. For summer, we're up 2.6% in headcount, 3.4% in credit hours, and 7% overall in terms of FTEs. Particularly in the graduate enrollment area, we are up, undergraduate down just a little bit, and we are actually having 11 courses on ground the second part of the summer term to help us get ready for on-ground courses in the fall. As you can see, the second element there, if we had to project today, we were 13,000 as we started school last fall. If we had to project right now, we would say 12,500, which is down between 4 and 5%. Interestingly, the springboard number, which is the number of new students, is fairly consistent with what we have seen in recent past. It's the number of students returning from the spring that is the question mark. We started communicating this week with students about whether their classes would be on ground, online, or hybrid. And so we're looking to see if we get a boost in the returning students. Also wanted to talk about, as it relates to recruiting and retaining students, just to make sure that you understand the international student situation is a challenge in that new students, which we were counting on 160 coming to campus, we think that they're going to have trouble getting visas and that we may not see those students in the fall. So our overall international numbers, like a lot of institutions, will be down a bit. I also wanted to draw your attention to the fact that yesterday it was announced that international students have to have at least one class on ground to be able to stay in the country. And so we're looking at all of the international schedules to make sure that that is possible for our students. As President Mahoney mentioned, we have an anti-racism task force. There are 4 subcommittees, and one of those 4 subcommittees is about student recruiting and retention, particularly for underrepresented groups, underrepresented students. And so we are hoping that task force will have at least 2 action items from each of the subcommittees to report when we start school in August, so that we can reflect the fierce urgency of now, which is the theme of that task force. I also wanted to congratulate Deja Finley, who for a capstone experience helped us create an implicit bias training for School of Pharmacy in terms of their interviews for new students. She worked with Lakeisha Butler and Jessica Kerr, faculty members in pharmacy for that. Goal 2 has to do with academic offerings and preparing our students. The first bullet point has to do with academic continuity task force. I want to thank Josie DeGroot Brown and Eric Ruck, who have been meeting just the last few months to talk about safety, academic quality, and preparing our faculty to be fully prepared to offer on-ground classes and hybrid classes. I want to congratulate the second bullet, the industrial engineering student team, Brittany, Stephen, and Jacob, and their advisor, Dr. Coe, regarding third place finish in the Rockwell simulation. Their particular project was on moving materials on barges. They finished third in the national competition behind SUNY Binghamton and the University of Florida. Last bullet on this screen, I want to thank our advanced practice registered nurse students for all they have been doing in COVID testing. You heard Jerry talk about that earlier, that our faculty and students are working hard to help individuals in our areas regarding testing. I also wanted to mention, as you have seen this chart before, we have started to put together top 50 nationally ranked programs, and the top line in this one is our newest program, School of Nursing's online nurse educator master's program, number 7 in the nation. They were rated on quality, cost, and flexibility, and came in 7th. Goal number 3 has to do with the student co-curricular experience. The first bullet, I want to say thank you to our university housing individuals. They were responsible for 300 residents, even in March after the majority of the student body went home. They helped with things like food, laundry, mail, computer needs during phases 2 and 3. And then even this summer, we still have about 100 residents in the residence halls. The second bullet is a really exciting thing. The Department of Theater and Dance coordinated with one of our alums from Los Angeles, Ernie De Silva, and Catherine Bentley, one of our faculty members in theater and dance, is coordinating that. So we look forward to a fall 2020 performance, assuming that that our rules allow and that the situation is safe, on the effects of socioeconomic and racial discrepancies. We're partnering with a theater in St. Louis to do that. And last but not least on this page, congratulations to the SIU baseball program. Cole Millam signed a minor league contract with the Boston Red Sox. And when minor league baseball gets going again, he'll be playing in Fort Myers. So I think at least one person on the board will have a great chance to see him. The fourth goal has to do with recruiting and retaining faculty and staff, and watching their accomplishments, trying to support their accomplishments. The first bullet point, congratulations to Sinan Onal, and he was, as you can see, elected president-elect of Data Analytics and Information Systems. So congratulations to him. I'm also excited that since our last meeting, we have signed an SIUE alum from 2010, Marcus Evans, to be our head cross-country track and field coach. He was a 400-meter hurdler when he was here at SIUE, so he's got stamina. That's a great thing. He was previously assistant coach at Lipscomb University in Nashville, and the track athletes are so excited that he's going to be part of SIUE. The fifth goal has to do with our interactions, our connections with the community, our contributions there. So I want to say thanks, first of all, to the SIUE School of Engineering. They created face shields, not only for the police department, as you can see in this picture, but also for individuals at Anderson Hospital. They are using a 3D printer to help make those, and they've been very helpful to the campus in general. I also want to congratulate Lakeisha Butler in terms of her interview with CBS News regarding access to health care, particularly for people of color, and developing health literacy. The last goal, goal 6, just a quick update in terms of what's happening with the facilities at SIUE. Founders Hall, we are almost finished with that. We think we'll be done in either late August or the beginning of September. The SDM Advanced Care Clinic, which is for sedation dentistry, particularly for children. We demolished the old structure. We've got the new foundation going in, and so we think within a year we'll be in good shape on that. The greenhouse renovation and expansion, which is located north of the Science East building. We have an architect and they're under contract. They're doing soil tests now. We think within a year that will be open. So that's an exciting project. Health sciences, I mentioned that earlier. That's the capital project that we're excited about that will combine pharmacy, nursing, and a few other programs. And so CDB held interviews this week for an architectural firm, and we think we'll be announcing the results soon. SIUE School of Dental Medicine, this also is exciting. They received a $500,000 grant from Delta Dental. You may recall that Delta helped with the advanced care clinic. And so we think with this donation, we'll be able to do some concept drawings for a 450-seat auditorium so that the SDM can actually get all of their students, faculty, and staff together in one place, which is a challenge for them now. Last but not least, thank you to Basler Electric. They donated $100,000 for the electrical and computer engineering lab. And so we wish to say thank you to them. I will tell you as I sign off, because I know so many of you subscribe to Rolling Stone, that Christian Lee, a 2018 alum, has an amazing photo essay as part of the latest Rolling Stone magazine, basically on student lives and how they were affected by COVID. So with that, I will say thank you and see if there are any questions.
Any questions of Chancellor Pembroke? Not, thank you. And Chancellor Lane, will you present your report for the Carbondale campus?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And let me first start off by thanking all of the Board of Trustee members that are there. Thank you to President Mahoney for your support and confidence. I have hit the ground running officially. It's been a very, very busy week this week, as you can imagine. Meeting and talking and setting meetings all across campus and even into the community. Technically, I started on July 1, but again, I think right after you appointed me, the work started May 29th, I think is when it was. So I can't say enough about the faculty, the staff, the community members, the students, the alums that I have interacted with over the last month. They've all been very gracious in welcoming me, and I really appreciate that. All of our faculty and staff, I tell you what, outstanding work that they've been able to do since the COVID hit back in the spring all the way up to now. They are totally committed to the mission of what we're doing here at SIUC. Students are extremely committed. And then I have a very strong and seasoned collaborative leadership team. I've got a chance to already meet in and work in with them, where they have been working really hard to make sure that we're moving forward. I look forward to this fall with kicking off the listening and learning tour. I'll be talking with faculty, staff, students, alums, community members, you name it, to begin work on our strategic plan, SIUC in 2030, to look 10 years out and to make sure that plan is definitely connected with the system plan, with President Mahoney, and staying in tune and in lockstep with that. In the interest of time, I'll cover just 3 subjects. Our fall enrollment for new first-time students is looking really good. As I talk to you, I'm knocking on wood. You can't see my fingers tapping on it, but I am. First-time students, that count continues to look good. We've got to focus on our yield rates. We do need those students to not only tell us they're coming, but to register and to be here. When we look at some of those indicators that tell us we're in good shape, when we look at orientation, they're doing a great job. They're maxing out the orientations. Our students are there doing it virtually. Our registrations and then our housing contracts all seem to be trending in a very good direction. And so I'm very hopeful. Our freshman to sophomore retention rates continue to increase. And if you look at where we rate within even schools across the country, it's extremely high, in the high 70s. And so that's hats off to, again, all of the folks here that have been doing a really good job. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Chancellor Dunn as well, who spent, I guess, about a year and a half in this role and guided the university through some really challenging times. And he's done a good job with leaving me some cookie crumbs to take a look at. And so I appreciate that. We are having some challenges in our transfer student enrollment, international student enrollment, but still optimistic down the stretch. A few weeks to go, I think we will hopefully turn the corner there and to get those numbers up. I will tell you, I've looked at our best practices when it comes to strategic enrollment management, and I will tell you that our folks over in the admissions office, our provost and other areas have rolled out some of the best practices. I was doing an interview and said it's really going to be a marathon and not a sprint, although we will be sprinting to change the course of our enrollment. That'll be a top priority for us there. The second topic relates to COVID-19. Again, just commending the campus. We did a lot of surveying of our faculty, our staff, our students. We thought it was important to get all voices on the table before we pulled the trigger on the fall plan. We put that out to the community last week. As you can imagine, our students are ready to come back to school. Our faculty are ready to come back to school. Our formats are going to be mixed with face-to-face, hybrid, and fully online. So depending again on when our students are wanting to take those classes, we'll put them in the right formats, and that'll be a partnership, obviously, between our faculty and our deans, and making sure that we're offering the right mix of classes to make sure that we're going to be able to pull off the semester. You heard our president talk about the task force on diversity and inclusion. Our task force is up and running. I want to thank Todd Bryson, who has done a tremendous job in helping get our group together. We have our first meeting tomorrow, but that group has already been hard at work, and I've been able to talk to a few of the members that are there. They will have some action items that they will bring forward in their recommendations that will be specific to our campus, and I look forward to sharing that information here in the weeks to come. So on that note, again, I just want to thank everyone for having me and for supporting me, and that will conclude my report, and go Dogs.
Thank you, Dr. Lane. Dean Cruz. You got to unmute. You're muted.
There we go. Yeah, just a couple of things. Throughout COVID-19, as I mentioned before, our clinical care really took a dive in March, April, and May, but we're pretty much back up to 100% of our encounters. But 22% of those encounters are telemedicine, and in May we had 13,200 telemedicine visits. We have found that it's more effective, more efficient, and more equitable way. And not only that, it's great for employers too, because it minimizes the time that workers are away from their job. So it's there because of an executive order of the governor that mandates payment for it. And we need to make sure that that turns into law, because this is a better way to do care and to do education for the care. Also, just a word about the infrastructure and the leadership that allowed the program in the Metro East area to develop that Dr. Hightower mentioned. That grows out of our Office of External Relations led by Lori Williams. And within that office, there's an Office of Community Initiatives and Complex Care led by Tracy Smith. And in the last few months, they've had all kinds of connections with HFS, DHS, IDPH, the deputy governors. They collaborate with lots and lots and lots of local health departments. They've transformed our community healthcare program to the pandemic healthcare program, and so that testing could occur, and we could put together partnerships with SIHF, SIU, Edwardsville, and the School of Nursing, and thanks to Valerie Griffin for making that work. And I'll just say all of that grew out of our hotspotting program that started 7 years ago in the Department of Family and Community Medicine. We were early initiators. The Camden Coalition recognized 4 health profession schools as the one that would train all the others. So Thomas Jefferson University, University of Utah, SIU School of Medicine, Samuel Merritt University is training them all. And this year we have the opportunity to train Washington University in St. Louis in hotspotting. All right, that's pretty good connection with the BJC thing. And then just one last thing, faculty member Vidya Prakash, a physician, is professor of internal medicine, infectious disease. She is the founder of the Alliance for Women in Medicine and Science, which is now in the Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And that program, AWIMS, was just named as the 2020 Inspiring Affinity Award winner for Insight into Diversity magazine, which is, pretty big deal. She also was just named the chair of the IDPH Diversity and Healthcare Task Force for the state. So that's a good deal. And we have 5 groups for underrepresented groups in medicine among students at SIU. They've come together and they've formed a marginalized student network. They are intelligent, articulate, informed, aware, and determined, and you're going to hear more from them probably in the next updates, but we're working with them right now, and it is amazing. Anyway, thanks so much.
Thank you, Dean Cruz, and I also want to thank President Mahoney and the chancellors and Dean Cruz. Work that they've done these past few months. These are definitely unprecedented times. It feels like as President Mahoney said, it's almost like a moving target on trying to adjust to things that come down on a daily basis. And they're doing an outstanding job. We don't know what the future is going to hold, but I am very confident and comfortable that we have the great leadership of our system, that we will be able to adjust to whatever comes down the road for the betterment of our students, our faculty, our staff, and our respected communities. At regular board meetings, 30 minutes will be reserved to receive comments or questions from members of the public and employees of the university. Speakers' comments or questions should not exceed 5 minutes. Persons wishing to speak shall contact the executive secretary of the board. The executive secretary of the board shall maintain a roster of those seeking to speak and shall call the speakers in order. Madam Secretary, do we have any speakers today?
We do. We have one speaker, Marcus Odom.
Mr. Odom?
Thank you. Dr. Odom, I'm the Deloitte & Touche Faculty Fellow at the School of Accountancy at SIUC. I am also the president of the Faculty Senate this year. And I just wanted to come today and just to address the board and say thank you for the opportunity to come. You've all met me before. I've addressed you several times in the past, and I hope to continue to do so at all your board meetings this year in my role as the Faculty Senate President. I want to thank you for especially some of the leadership moves that you have made in the last few months. It's exciting to know that we're going into a new academic year with a new president and also with a new chancellor at our university. It's exciting to know that both of these individuals are of the quality that we expect you would have picked for us, and we're excited to have both of them in our system. I've had a chance to meet with Dr. Lane and Dr. Mahoney through mostly emails and some Zoom meetings, and I can tell you that I am highly impressed with both and look forward to working more closely with Dr. Lane. And as he's hitting the ground running, he's told me I'm going to be joining him on some of those places he's running to. So I'm excited about that. I also wanted to let you know that I was part of the one of the teams that did some of the interviews for the new position in the president's office. One exciting thing about that is that President Mahoney brought together a group of us from all the different campuses. And we had a chance to do some chatting before some of the interviews. It was really a good time to get to know some of the other faculty from the other campuses. And me and the outgoing faculty senate president from Edwardsville, and she's going to introduce me to the new incoming faculty senate president there. We've talked about maybe putting together some type of a council of campuses with the faculty senates and some of the other constituencies to get some more interaction. We all really enjoyed that interaction, and I want to keep that going. And it's something I've got on my agenda to take care of this year and get something started there. So I wanted to let you know about that. Also, I wanted to let you know that we're excited about the plans that are being worked on moving into the fall semester. We have been involved with the administration. They have reached out to the faculty, and we're excited about moving forward and know that the plans that are being put in place are ones that are focused primarily on the safety of our students and our faculty and our staff, and that's very important to us. And something new, it's been mentioned today, but it's a concerning thing, the new ICE policy that just came out. I am also the graduate director for our Masters of Accountancy program, and for the last 2 days, I have been answering a lot of emails from my international students. It's really got the international students anxious. It's a policy that we need to think about. We're looking at ways that we can maybe offer face-to-face courses for those students that will allow them to stay here. Some of the students are concerned that if we stop at Thanksgiving, will they have to leave and go home immediately then, because that's part of something that was in the ruling. So I just want to bring that out again and just say it's something that needs to be addressed. And if there's any way we can put out a message to our international students from the system and also try to have some effect on that ruling, it would be worthwhile. And again, I thank you for the opportunity. I look forward to being in the role of the Faculty Senate Apprentice this year, and I look forward to seeing you guys at each of your Board of Trustees meetings this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Oldham, and I agree that we need to try to reach out to these international students on both that are going to both campuses in an effort to try to keep them here. Okay, our next item is the call for the omnibus motion. The trustees have had approximately 10 days to study the items on the agenda. A certain number of items are self-explanatory, and so at the same time, we act as one motion and one vote. Madam Secretary, would you please read the suggested items for the omnibus motion?
We have several that we're going to do have been requested to be roll call vote. And those roll call vote items are going to be F, G, P, and Q. So the ones for the omnibus motion are H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, R, and S.
Madam Secretary, was the Q being brought separately because of my recusal? I just got an email from the Carbondale campus of who the sellers were, and I don't know them, so I can vote on that. That can be part of the omnibus motion.
We'll include Q then.
So it's just F, G, and P that we're pulling.
That's right.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the items of omnibus motion with the exception of F, G, and P?
So moved.
Been moved by Trustee Tedrick, second.
Second, Subhash Sharma.
Okay.
I now ask the secretary to call the roll item on those omnibus motion.
Okay. Curtis,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
Graham. Oh, I see him. Hightower,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
and Tedrick.
Yes.
And I declare the motion to approve the omnibus motion has been passed. Now the next item will be item F. Do I have a motion to approve this item?
Take F and G
Oh,
together.
we'll take F and G together?
Yeah.
Okay. How about P? P's got to be separate because of.
It is a separate.
Pardon?
It is.
Oh, P is separate anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Board item F and G, do I hear a motion to approve these items?
So moved.
Been moved?
Second.
David did. Okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I'm now going to ask the secretary to call the roll.
Curtis,
Yes.
Gear.
Yeah.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Graham,
Yeah.
Hightower,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Hedrick.
I recuse.
Okay,
Okay, now we have item P. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve item P?
So moved.
Moved by trustee.
Second.
and Simmons.
Moved and seconded. Now going to ask secretary to call the roll.
Okay, Curtis,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Hedrick.
I recuse.
Okay, I declare the motion is passed. That concludes the business of the Board of Trustees today. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the board is planned to be held on September 17th at the Sono University School of Dental Medicine in Alton. A news conference will be held immediately after the conclusion of the University Park Board meeting. May I have a motion now? I'm going to ask the board members to please remain for the University Board Park meeting, which will be conducted by Chancellor Pembroke. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the meeting be adjourned. Roll call vote again.
Curtis,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Hedrick.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is passed and the meeting is adjourned. We are now going to, Chancellor Pembroke, we're going to go into the University Park Board meeting.
Thank you. I think this will only take about 2 minutes. So welcome to the meeting of the members of the Corporation of University Park, Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, Inc. I will call the meeting order and ask Ms. Whittington to call the roll of the members of the corporation.
Mahoney. Here. Pembroke,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Scholler, Simmons,
Yes.
Hedrick.
Yes.
Okay, Chancellor Pembroke.
Thank you very much. The first item of business on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the meeting of the members of the Corporation of University Park, SIU, Inc. from our last meeting, May 16, 2019. Are there any edits to suggest to the minutes? If not, I would call for a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, the minutes are considered to be approved.
Chancellor Pembroke,
Yeah.
we may have to do a roll call on that.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I would do it. Okay. Okay,
We're going to call the roll on it.
Okay, thank you. Misty, if you'd do that, I'd appreciate it.
yes. Pembroke,
Yes.
Curtis,
Yes.
Gear,
Yes.
Gilbert,
Yes.
Graham,
Yes.
Hightower,
Yes.
Sharma,
Yes.
Simmons,
Yes.
Hedrick.
Yes.
Okay, we can go on.
Yes.
All right, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the election of members on the Board of Directors of University Park Southern Illinois University Edwardsville, Inc. This matter would re-elect 4 community directors, Tom Holloway, Rhonda Sauget, Jerry Schutzenhofer, and Cheryl Welge, and elect 1 new community director, Rob Woodard, to the Board of Directors of University Park Southern Illinois University Edwardsville, Inc. for 2-year terms. The terms of the community directors would cover July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2022. In addition, this matter would re-elect 2 administration directors, myself and School of Business Dean Tim Schenecker. The terms of the 2 administrative directors would also run from July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2022. I will briefly tell you, Rob Woodard, who is being nominated, is a shareholder at Simmons Hanley Conroy, belongs to the ABA, Illinois Trial Lawyers Association, and joins as a volunteer for Hands on East St. Louis, an organization serving underprivileged children and their families. He is a JD grad of Valpo and a bachelor's grad of Illinois College in Jacksonville. So with that, I will tell you that all have agreed to serve if elected. Is there a motion to pass this resolution?
So moved.
Is there yes. Did you get who made the motion, Misty?
Who seconded it?
I.
Sorry, Simone.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Can we do a roll call?
Yes. Mahoney.
Yes.
Pembroke.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Gear.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
Hightower.
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
Simmons.
Yes.
Tedrick.
Yes.
So I declare the motion to approve the resolution to have passed. Thank you for that. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting? Is there a second? Is there a second? Do we need a roll call on this one, Misty?
Yes. Mahoney.
Yes.
Yes.
Curtis.
Yes.
Gear.
Yes.
Gilbert.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Sharma.
Yes.
Simmons.
Yes.
And Tedrick.
Yes.
Thank you all. I appreciate your time.
Okay, that
Thank you.
concludes the board meeting, and also we have concluded the SIU Board of Trustee meeting. Now we have a press conference. I see that Jennifer and Molly, you're on, I don't know if there's any other press. John Charles, are you there?
I'm here, Mr. Chairman, and I see Jennifer and Molly, and we can go ahead and get started. Jennifer, if you'd like to start with the traditional first question.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon, everybody. One of the big focuses I wanted to ask about was just this uncertainty when it comes to international students coming back to campuses this fall. What level of certainty do you have at this point? Have you talked to Immigrations and Customs in terms of whether this rule might change? And what are you hearing from students?
Wants to tackle that question.
I don't know whether, as far as hearing from students, I don't know whether either the chancellors have heard. I haven't heard directly from students yet. But again, it's been a short period of time, so I don't know whether either of you have heard from anybody.
Jennifer, have you heard from anybody, any students?
I have not. I just wonder if there's any thought that the rule might be modified or changed before classes start. And there is some question too. I've heard some people that are not sure whether the rule actually means if the university switches to all online classes mid-semester, if that means the students will automatically have to leave at that point, or whether they might be allowed to stay similar to the rule that was changed for the spring semester.
Yeah, I will say 2 things. One, I know that there's a large scale effort by universities across the country working together to get some changes in the ruling. And I think part of that is because we are interpreting it as meaning that if we were to go online midway through the semester, that students would immediately have to leave, which obviously would cause a lot of hardship for them and a lot of difficulties. And so that is one of the bigger concerns. Obviously, we're not going totally online. Some institutions have already announced they're going to be totally online for the fall. So that raises even bigger issues for them immediately. But ours is more about the what if we were to transition, how would that impact our international students? But there is a large scale effort by universities across the country to ask for a changing in that rule.
When it comes to
Jennifer, I can add just from the campus standpoint, as you can imagine, our international students are concerned, and we are reaching out to those students as much as we get information and detailed information, we relay that, but it is something we're closely monitoring.
when it comes to COVID, I saw that the Ivy League has canceled all fall sports through actually fall and some winter sports. They'll not be playing sports at all until at least January 1st. I wonder how the athletic departments, or as a system, how athletics is being considered at this point.
Yeah, and I'll start with the Chancellor Lane comment if you want to. What I think we're seeing across the country, and I just saw an update come on my phone from the Big Ten Conference, is that they're generally deciding this among conferences about how to, whether the Ivy League's decision to play or not play at all, or the Big Ten's decision, which was just for only playing conference games in the fall. That just came out a second ago. So I think it mostly, and we're in two different conferences, so there's Ohio Valley, Missouri Valley conferences, and so I think a lot of that will be discussions at the conference level, and I know those meetings are ongoing. I don't get to be involved with those anymore as assistant president, so I'm out of the conference meetings, but I know the chancellors have both been involved with the conference discussions the whole way through.
Yeah, and our meeting, just to echo that, our meeting actually is coming up there. Missouri Valley has not come out and said anything about us not participating in fall sports, although as you can imagine, it's being closely monitored and watched. Our athletes here have reported back. You know, we've been fortunate right now. We have all the testing protocols in place, but you know, we're still monitoring everything and just trying to make sure that we're ready either way, but we're ready to be able to participate. And if not, you know, then we'll have some discussion about that then.
I just had one other question, and it's not really related to COVID, which may or may not be refreshing. There's been a lot of talk over the last several years about the split of state funding between the Carbondale and Edwardsville campuses. And I just wondered if we could get a status update on how that process is going, and what, if any, changes might be in the works over the next year or possibly just the next few months.
No changes in the next few months and no changes in the next year. So the board, what they passed, and they can chime in as well, but what they passed really was for the next 3 years. And what I've talked about is the strategic planning process that I discussed earlier. That's kind of the first piece before building a budget model. The budget model really should follow what the strategic plan goals are. And so again, we hope to have that done by the end of the fall semester, and that'll really allow us to ramp up the discussions about what the long-term budget model will be for the system. So that would not be something that would be changing certainly this academic year.
Molly, you have any questions?
Hello. Jennifer, of course, asked a lot of the questions I wanted. At least I'm going to say that because they were good ones. I just wanted to see, Dr. Lane, if you could talk a little bit more. I know we're about a month and a few days out from, you know, students returning. What are you hearing in terms of, you know, not asking for hard enrollment numbers, but looking at freshman class, and, you know, what are you hearing from students about coming onto campus? You know, do you think the numbers you're seeing are going to come to fruition, or is it hard to say with COVID? You know, talk about that a little bit.
Austin, you're muted.
Okay, there you go. Molly, can you hear me now?
I got you now.
And thank you, Chairman. Yeah, Molly, it's pretty promising when you look at our freshmen, incoming freshmen, first time in college students that are coming in. Those percentages are up about 2 or 3% than they were this time last year, even with the COVID pandemic. Our transfer numbers, we're really trying to reach out to those community colleges and make sure that we can close the deal with those students. As you can imagine, they're looking at just resources, and they were very pleased to hear that we were open. To give you a deeper example of that, we surveyed faculty, staff, and students, but focusing more on the students. About 70 some odd % of the students actually said they were ready to come back and be on campus again. And so that's refreshing to hear, because when you look at our housing contracts and some of the other orientations that I mentioned earlier, that tells us that we may be able to hold that enrollment. And so we're hopeful. But we do have some work to do on transfer, as I mentioned, and then international, of course, is going to be something we're closely monitoring.
Just add one thing to what Chancellor Lane said too is, because I've been looking at the enrollment numbers really for several months now, and I thought, given the COVID crisis, that we would see more wider fluctuation than we normally see, but it's actually been pretty steady. So, I mean, everything that Chancellor Lane talked about for the Carbondale numbers, I would have said the exact same thing 2 months ago, which has been, again, somewhat surprising to me. I thought it would fluctuate more, but it's been pretty steady, where the freshman numbers look really good. Again, some lower numbers in some of the other areas, but the freshman numbers have looked really good, and that has not changed over the last several months. It's been almost kind of consistent percentage differences.
One thing that I think everybody's hopeful for is, for the last several years, there's been an exodus of high school students going outside Illinois for college. And with this COVID, I read an article not too long ago that a lot of high school students are wanting to stay closer to home. So hopefully that will bode well for Carbondale as well as Edwardsville in maintaining at least a flat enrollment, if not a little bit of increase in enrollment.
I appreciate that. My other question is about budget. Is the SIU having to brace for potential mid-fiscal year budget reductions from the state? Are you having to look at the potential for layoffs or furloughs? I know it seems like that's been largely avoided on the campuses. What's ahead?
You asking for the system or for the Carbondale campus specifically?
I suppose for the Carbondale campus specifically, and then if you would like to weigh in on the president from the system level, Mr. President, that would be great.
I can answer. I was excited to see when I arrived that our state appropriations were flat, in that they were not reduced. And so I was very excited to see that. And so we're starting our budgeting planning process as we speak. We're doing some things on campus to slow some hires down, just so we can be fiscally conservative with the dollars that we have, in case we have to shift gears or change directions. We are faced with some gaps that we have to fill as it relates just to tuition revenue, as it ties to enrollment, of course. And that just really spans over the last couple of years. But we have some internal things that we'll put in place to help get that a lot better. But we'll have to just really watch our enrollment and make sure that what we think is coming in comes in, and then we'll make some changes along the way, and again, just continue to monitor our budgetary situation.
Yeah, so I'll follow up with 2 things. One is, I just remembered why Chancellor Pembroke is not here. So he's actually at the Ohio Valley Conference Presidents and Chancellors meeting right now. So he had told me about that. I'd forgotten that he had to jump off for that. So that's actually why he's there, dealing with exactly the question Jen asked earlier on about what they were going to do going forward. And that seemed to be an important conversation for him to be part of. As far as looking at the budget, that was one of the things I talked about earlier. In addition to looking at making sure that we're projecting revenue in a fairly conservative way and making reductions if we need to, it was actually building in a contingency as well. And so I've asked them all to build in at least a 2% contingency, so that if something does happen, whatever it is happens later in the year, we have some contingency to help deal with that. As Dean Cruz talked about earlier, again, they're already doing some things based on what we've approved today to help deal with some of the budget, which unfortunately for you know, I've said it's strange, the great work that the School of Medicine has done and really taking a leadership role in the state, could not have stepped forward better, has had the most significant financial impact because of the impact on clinical revenue and all of that. And so it's hit them harder, which seems entirely unfair, but that's the reality of the situation that we're in. And so they've already been making some more significant decisions, but we need to be prepared to do whatever we need to as we look at what happens with not just state appropriations, but as Dr. Lane talked about, all of the tuition dollars and how many students actually do come, how many stay in residence halls, all of that will affect what we can do this academic year.
Thanks
Okay,
so much. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer and Molly, and thanks everyone, and have a great rest of the day and stay safe.
Bye.
Thanks.